functional specification. We can start out with that and run contests on ideas. You can take an idea and run contests on a business requirements document. You can take a business requirements document and run contests on a functional specification. You can take a functional specification and build a working prototype. Take a working prototype and you can build a full-blown system. So there's that, we have this crossing of a chasm where you get to a point where your idea is figured out. To the left of that is conceptualization. Right? To the right of that is all of our engineering. Objective, subjective. That's how we treat it.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
One of the things you mentioned I thought was interesting was the example of DARPA. And I think I know what you're talking about. There's basically a market where DARPA, Defense Advanced Research Agency, set up a system where they allow people to bet or invest somehow in predicting the next location of time of the terrorist. Somehow people thought that it was so outlandish and so horrifying that we can't use crowdsourcing now.
Right.
And so they pulled back from it. Could you comment on that? Is there a limitation, do you think, on the rational use of crowdsourcing? Also in something that's complex, where you're not just dealing with, the Sweet 16, Final Four, NCAA, where you have a fixed number of outcomes. There you have almost a limited number of outcomes. Right. And you see it kind of falling apart.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, what we use is a combinatorial engine that allows you to, it's not just bet on one thing happening or not, but when you're using combinatorics, you can put whole ranges and scenarios together to say, hey, if this, and this happened, what's the probability of Y happening? So, yeah, the DARPA project was very interesting. It was 2003. It was funded with $1 million for DARPA to basically build this market. And it was basically originally designed to take about 8 or 10 countries in the Middle East. Of course, this was after 9/11, and they really wanted to get a sense of what's, where are our risks and where we'd be focusing. So they partnered with The Economist, the intelligence unit of The Economist. So The Economist, the publishing company, has basically guys who sit at airports and count planes landing and taking off, and economic activity in Jordan, and all this other kind of stuff to get sort of an index of, all of these economic activities within this sort of target countries. And so this market was intended to basically provide a signal for a couple of folks. Investment, should we be investing in Jordan right now, or what's the probability that there's going to be some sort of political upheaval in the next 6 months? It was not just sort of to pinpoint terrorist sort of risks. It was also a general economic barometer, or so to speak. And the reason it was nailed to the wall was because a couple of senators got a hold of it and said, oh, well, you're trying to get people to bet on, assassinations and things like that, which is really not. I mean, if you think about it, they said it was a market in death, and it was really a market to avoid risk, not seek it out. Like a betting market is me having fun chasing risk because it's a fun thing to do, right? I'm going to bet on a game, or I'm going to bet on some sort of outcome. A prediction market is me avoiding risk and essentially saying, hey, here's a hedge so that if this thing happens, I'm going to bet this way so that I can have something to offset that risk. And so that's what prediction market, it's just like insurance. When life insurance first came out, first was proposed, people were aghast. Oh, this is so immoral. We're betting on death. Why would you do that? And it's the exact same concept. And so I think as we get some more water under the bridge, it's going to be the same result, where this is an acceptable way of managing these things. So no, I don't think there's a rational. If you need to know something, you need to collect intelligence around that. I think this is quite an effective way of doing that. So
It's pouring water on people.
Right.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
I was just been thinking, since you asked the question about outliers with regard to predicting the success of the mortgage market, and I was wondering, and I may have misunderstood what you were saying, is whether in that kind of predictive system, your market wasn't necessarily betting their own money on what's best. They were betting what was going to be interesting for them in the short-term interest. So if you don't have a market that's really pure in the sense of they're trying to get a right,
Right.
then you might have a problem. And the other thing that I thought might come up, and I don't know if any of you have come up against this, is if you're dealing with a generally well-accepted myth. You know, if you were betting whether the world was flat or round in the 1100s, you probably would have gotten a lot of wrong answers. And if you bet on a lot of, social psychology, there were a lot of experiments that have been famously counterintuitive, like Pilgrim's obedience to authority or the Princeton Good Samaritan experiments. You would not ever have people guessing that's the way it came out, because typically the experimenters were shocked.
Right.
Well, Kim, you started that one.
No, I love what he's.
Yeah.
No, that's a great comment. It's a great comment. I just think often, we don't hear the dissonant voice. We don't hear the. It's not always obvious to us. It's the non-obvious person. I'll never forget. I used to chair many years ago a commission, and it was for the future of the Everglades. We were planning. It was a growth management plan, and these hearings would run until 2 in the morning sometimes. And I remember one night that there was a person from the Indian tribe, chief, Seminole Indians, that came in and waited until 2 in the morning, and you could tell he was, fearful of speaking, everything. But he got up there, and literally his comment, he was the only voice in this whole crowd that could tell the story of the Everglades and how some of the water management practices were going to affect his area and parts of it. It was about a $200 million comment that nobody in that room agreed with, and that meant several hundred people that had come before him. And we just don't listen sometimes to people because of stature, demeanor, or status, or education, or any of those things. And at least in my life experience, it's good to listen to everybody. So, I don't know. You get the idea. You find that one outlier. It's much easier for us to sit in this room and we all, our bias is to all agree with each other. Yeah, let's go do that, But, it's the harder thing to do, to step up and say, I'm not sure I really do agree.
In open source software, there's a saying that the best software scratches a common niche. So you have a lot of people with a similar need. And I think that's what crowdsourcing is. It's not quite art yet, but if it's a well-defined common problem, it can be tackled.
I'm going to take a moment actually and thank Tim and the panel for a phenomenal evening, and I really appreciate the participation from the audience. I hope everybody's enjoyed this very much. Thank you so much.